Hello and welcome, this is Bisharp here, and we are back via another episode of Poké Knowledge. This week I'm going to be covering two theories because of last week's mishap of not having an episode. And I also want to say that next week will be also another episode to keep the schedule going, since last week I should have had the episode up, but I didn't have time to edit and all that. So next week we'll have the episode as of normal. So just to tell you guys and keep you informed. But let's get right into the first theory. The first theory revolves around legendary dogs and how they came to be. But first, let me tell you the story behind them for those that don't know. Ecruteak City once had two towers, the Brass Tower and the Tin Tower, until one night when the Brass Tower was struck by lightning, caught on fire, and after 3 days, put out by the rain. During this, 3 Pokemon perished in the tower, and after everything had settled, Ho resurrected those Pokemon and gave them power. These Pokemon now being Raikou, Entei, Suicune. These Pokemon were to represent the lightning that struck the tower, the fire that burnt it down, and the rain that extinguished the fire. This theory states that the 3 Pokemon that perished were Jolteon, Flareon, and Vaporeon. Because both trios share similar stat distribution, they are all quadruped or dog things, and of course similar typing. Now let's just look into this a little deeper. The Kimono Girls, which also reside in Ecruteak City, all have evolutions, and even though they reside in present time, it is highly likely that there were Kimono Girls back then, since it is even stated that Bill's mother was a Kimono Girl in her youth. And the fact that they are dressed in very traditional outfits sort of leans to the idea that it's a ongoing tradition over many years. So with this in mind, they could have been doing a performance when this all transpired. But I want to think about this a little differently. It is said that Ho gave these Pokemon their power, which could easily mean that the legendary dogs could actually be Eevees, and they were given more power than the evolution stones would have given. Now, I'm not saying that the Eevees mega evolved, but they were just given a mass amount of power from Ho. Now, personally, I like this theory because it fits in with the canon story very well, and it isn't reaching for evidence too often, if ever. Now on to the next theory. To be honest, this theory is a little odd, but is worth looking into nonetheless. I want to forewarn some viewers of possible spoilers in this theory, so you have been warned now. Now the theory is Lucre from Platinum designed after the 10th Doctor from the series Doctor Who? First, let me just say, if you don't know what Doctor Who is, just pause the video and go Google it. It would take me way too long to go into an explanation of what the show is about. So, yeah. Now, if you look at just physical appearance alone, you could just say it's a coincidence. But if you dive deeper, you can find some uncanny similarities. First, you have the jobs. Lucre works for the International Police, an organization meant to stop all evildoers around the world, and has been involved with stopping Team Galactic and Team Plasma. The Doctor is a part of the Shadow Proclamation, a galactic government that upholds the galactic law. Okay, so both characters work in some sort of law enforcement. Nothing big. Alright, well, let's continue. Next we have characteristics. Both characters talk in odd manners, and only are known by their code names. Now, if you take into consideration the game that Lucre is introduced in, Platinum, a game revolving around time and space, and his goal alongside the player is to stop Team Galactic from seizing control of it, something the Doctor does regularly, it does lead to a possible coincidence or evidence that Lucre's design was pulled from Doctor Who. This one's a little bit far-fetched, but hey, why not? Then you have the only Pokemon Lucre is seen with, which is a Krogunk, which, if going by coloring, it could be considered as a reference to the iconic TARDIS from the Doctor Who series, both being blue. I don't think it's much, but hey, it could be. For my opinion on this, I think it's very cool. Since I'm a fan of the Doctor Who series myself, I personally think that if this was done on purpose, it was a great Easter egg for many Whovians. Since it's not just throwing in a blue box and calling it good. No, it's using details that only a few would be able to pick up on, and that is what makes this into a nice gift from the game designers to the fans of both franchises. Now let's get into some trivia with two awesome theories out of the way. The first bit of trivia is Professor Oak was originally going to be a trainer who you could battle. His team is programmed into the game and can only be accessed with the use of GameShark. His team being Tauros, Executor, Arcanine, Gyarados, and the remaining starter. I also want to point out that Professor Oak's team has a similar build to Gary's, or at least with him using the 3 Pokemon Gary swaps out depending on what starter he has. Just something I wanted to mention. Next we have, following last episode's Palindrome trivia, there are also 8 Pokemon with non-alphabetical characters in their names. Those Pokemon being Nidoran Male, Nidoran Female, Farfetch'd, Mr. Mime, Mime Jr., Porygon 2, Porygon Z, and Ho-Oh. Interesting, right? Now on that note, here are some weird Pokedex entries. Pidgeotto. This Pokemon flies at Mach 2 speed, seeking prey. Its large talons are feared as wicked weapons. This is coming from Pokemon Yellow. What an interesting Pokedex entry, because flying at Mach 2 speeds, I want to say, I can't remember off the top of my head, but isn't Mach 2 around like 60 miles an hour? At least? That's impressive. And I also want to point out, why isn't Pidgeotto's stats for a speed stat a lot higher, since it can fly 60 miles an hour? Yet Pokemon that are speed demons don't mention that. Doduo, Dodrio, I don't believe mention that in their Pokedex entries or any lore around them. Which is interesting, like, why is that? On to the next one. Sunkern. It may plummet from the sky. If attacked by a Spearow, it will violently shake its leaves. This is coming from Pokemon Heart Gold. I just want to point out something, and you'll see it on the screen. It just mentions plummet from the sky, and then it goes on to a completely different thought. How is it getting into the sky? It's a seed. Are people just, like, flinging those things up in the air, and then they just drop at, like, well, Mach 2 speeds? But no, it's like, why bring that up? It doesn't seem like much. It's not like it's saying that it will plummet from the sky after being attacked by a Spearow. It's not. If it gets attacked by a Spearow, it then shakes violently. What's up with that? Next we have Kadabra. It happened one morning. A boy with extrasensory powers awoke in bed, transformed into a Kadabra. This is coming from Pokemon Fire Red. I have a quick question on this one. Why a Kadabra? Why not Abra? The starting point of that evolutionary line. And why not Alakazam? If you, like, go for either side. Go for teleport only Pokemon or amazing Pokemon. Why go Kadabra the halfway through? I don't quite understand that, but this is Pokemon, and Pokelogic rules all in its world, since that logic does not make any sense. So that is it for this week. As I said at the beginning of the episode, I will be doing an episode next week, and it's going to be somewhat big. I'm not going to do too much spoiler, just because I want as much hype for it as possible. So, yeah. And don't forget to leave a like and a comment on your opinions on all of these theories, trivia, and Pokedex entries. And make sure you don't forget to subscribe to my channel to always be updated on every new episode of Pokeknowledge and all the other series I'm doing. So, that is it, guys. Thanks for watching, and this is Bisharp, signing out.